That Lass O Lowrie's by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Chapter 11. "Who's a queer little wench," commented one of the roughest Rigganite matrons, after her niece's first visit. "I were in middle of me washing when she come, up to t' neck in suds, and I were vexed enough when I seed her standing in t' door, looking at me with them big eyes o' hers, most like a babby's wondering at summat. 'We dinna want none,' I says, sort o' sharp like, the minute I clap my eyes on her. 'There's no one here as can read, and none on us has no time to spare if we could, so we dinna want none.' 'Dunna want no what?' she says. 'No trap,' says I. 'And what do you think she does, lasses? Why, she begins to sort o' dimple up about corners of her mouth, as if I'd said summat right down queer, and she gives a little bit of a laugh. 'Well,' she says, 'I'm glad of that. It's a good thing, for I haven't got none.' And then it turns out that she just stopped for nowt but to leave some old linen and salve for to dress that sore on Jock crushed in pit. He told her about it as he went to his work, and she promised to bring him some. And what's more, she wouldn't come in, but just gave me, and went her ways as if she hadn't been the parson's lass at all, but just one of common kind, as knowed how to mind her own business and leave other folks a be." The Rigganites became quite accustomed to the sight of her niece's small, low phaeton and its comfortable fat grey pony of respectable jog-trot habits. She was a pleasant sight herself as she sat in it, a little whip in a small gloved hand, and no one was ever sorry to see her check the grey pony before the door. "Our niece," commented Mr. Barone to his curate. "Well, you see, our niece understands these people, and they understand her. She has the faculty of understanding them. There is nothing, you may be assured, Grace, like understanding the lower orders, and entering into their feelings." There was one member of Riggan society who had ranged himself among Miss Barhome's disciples from the date of his first acquaintance with her, who was her staunch friend and adviser from that time forward, the young master of the best terrier in Riggan. Neither Jud Bates nor Nib faltered in their joint devotions from the hour of their first introduction to the parson's daughter. When they presented themselves at the rectory together, the cordiality of Nib's reception had lessened his master's awkwardness. Nib was neither awkward nor one whit abashed upon his entree into a sphere so entirely new to him as a well-ordered, handsomely furnished house. Once inside the parlour, Jud had lost courage and stood fumbling his ragged hat, but Nib had bounced forward in the best of unceremonious good spirits, barking in friendly recognition of Miss Barhome's greeting caress, and licking her hand. Through Nib, her niece contrived to inveigle Jud into conversation, and make him forget his overwhelming confusion. Catching her first glimpse of the lad as he stood upon the threshold, with his dubious garments and his abashed air, she was not quite decided what she was to do with him, but Nib came to her assistance. He forced himself upon her attention and gave her something to say, and her manner of receiving him was such that in a few minutes she found Jud sidling towards her as she half knelt on the hearth, patting his favourite's rough back. Jud looked down at her as she knelt, and she looked up at Jud. "Have you taught him to do anything?" she asked. "Does he know any tricks?" That broke the ice. Jud forgot his confusion. "He'll kill more rats in 10 minutes than any dog in Riggan. He's the best terrier for rats as they ever seed. He's the best terrier for out as they ever seed. There is nowt as he canna do. He can feed any dog as there is, from here to Marford," and he glowed in all the pride of possession, and stooped down to pat Nib himself. He was quite communicative after this, and really Anise gained a great deal of information from him. He was a shrewd little fellow, and had not spent his 10 years in the mining districts for nothing. He was thoroughly conversant with the ways of the people his young hostess wished to hear about. He had worked in the pits a little, and he had tramped about the country with Nib at his heels a great deal. He was supposed to live with his father and grandmother, but he was left entirely to himself, unless when he was put to a chance job. He knew Joan Lowrie, and pronounced her a brave un. He knew how Sammy Craddock, and reverenced him as a potentate of wondrous capacity. He knew Joan's father, and evidently regarded him with distrust. In fact, there was not a man, woman, or child in the place of whom he did not know something. Mr. Barham happened to enter the room by accident during the interview, found his daughter seated on a low seat with Nib's head on her knee and Judd a few feet from her. She was so intent on the task of entertaining her guest that she did not hear her father's entrance, and the Reverend Harold left the three together, himself in rather a bewildered frame of mind. "Do you know," he asked of his wife when he found her, "do you know who it is our niece is amusing in the parlour? What singular fancies the girl has, with all her good sense.